What is the noise? Somebody is out there doing something. Today, I'm going to be making a video in response to a couple DMs that I got from It's Keisha. In this video, we're going to be talking about biphobia. It's not cute, so let's talk about it. Let's address it. Let's address the elephant in the room. Yes. But before we do so, I think we should go over some very crucial definitions that would help us gauge everything a little more so we could really understand what's happening. So, the first one we're going to do, bi-curious. This one is a curiosity about having sexual relations with a same gender sex person. Now, I think I just put it up on the screen, so that should be fine. Then we have bisexual, a person emotionally, physically, and or sexually attracted to males, men, and females, women. So this attraction does not necessarily mean that it is always equal, and there may be, I don't like this word, but we'll use it just for the context. There may be a preference of one over the other. Yes. These definitions are directly from Dr. Eli Green and Eric and Peterson. They have a PDF that I'm going to have linked down below that you can read everything that I'm talking about right now. So, then you have biphobia, the fear of and discrimination against or hatred of people who are bisexual, which is oftentimes related to the current binary standard. Biphobia can be seen within the community as well as general society. We're going to be talking a lot about general society in this because they're horrible. if you're part of general society, you're probably horrible. So, and then you have cisgender. This is someone who describes someone who feels comfortable with their gender identity and gender expression and expectations assigned to them based upon their physical sex. So someone who is cisgender is okay with being the gender that they were born as. This other one is known as coming out. This may refer to the process by which one accepts one's own sexuality, gender identity, or status as an intersex person to come out to oneself. May also refer to the process by which one shares one's sexuality, gender identity, or intersex status with others, that is to come out to friends. This can be a continual lifelong process for people in the community, not just bisexual people. Sexuality. This is a person's exploration of sexual acts, sexual orientation, sexual pleasure, and desire. Sexual orientation. The desire for intimate, emotional, and or sexual relationships with people of the same gender or sex, another gender or sex, or multiple gender or sexes. These are just some basic definitions that I really think I should not be saying like that I think everybody should be thinking about and considering when having the conversation that we're about to have about biphobia. Now, another thing that I wanted to get into before we had the main discussion about biphobia is you also have to understand like this whole preference word, and it's used a lot in like the straight world because a lot of people consider, preferences. Like so when you go out with somebody, you're looking for a certain thing that offers what you like, that matches off your list. So you have a list of things when you're going out looking for somebody, straight or not. When you're going out and you're looking for a girlfriend or a boyfriend, whoever you are, you have this checkbox of things, and those are your preferences. That's what you want when you're talking to someone. Now, that gets a little bit dicey when you're talking about things that are known to and simulate in the real world discrimination. So let's say if you are a white male and your preference is always against black women, that can be perceived as racist, especially if you're constantly stating your negative opinions of that person. But it does not just apply to white men, of course. White women as well. Their preferences can sometimes be mixed up as like a fetish and be fetishized, which is weird, but understandable because of how a lot of them and the people that they're dating approach that type of relationship. And then you also have the preference that is another negative preference, which is like and typically you see this from like, there's a specific community of black men who don't like darker skinned black women. That is not a preference. That's colorism. You know what I mean? Like. So there's just so many things to consider, and when you're doing this, you have to try not to discriminate against people, but just make it known that the preferences that you have are in personality traits and not in a phobia. I don't know what those are called. A ism, a phobia, a ism. So yeah. But now we're gonna get into basically, it's Keisha reached out to me, and it was she posted on Twitter. Now I gotta see if I can go find it. Hold on. Oh, here it is. So, she commented. I'm probably put it on the screen, but basically, let me turn my brightness up. I want a boyfriend. And I said, right here, mamas, and she liked it. Or no, I retweeted it, and I also said, hold on, where is it at? Oh, I retweeted it and said, y'all give this some engage. Let me turn it. Why my brain just keep going down? I hate that. Apple, fix that. Give this some engagement so I can go on a date with my girl. And she commented, yo, it'd be one thing if you actually DM me, yada, yada, yada. So I said, I unsent them because I looked lame on IG. Let me retweet. Let me screenshot this. And then I went on Instagram and I DM'd her. Now let me find that. And I'm not going to expose what happened in the DMs because I don't like when YouTubers do that because those are really private. And it's not anybody's business. Like, even when I did that thumbnail, I'm probably going to blur it out just because, it's really nobody's business. But I did want to address some themes. And this is not anything that she said in specific. She just said it's not her preference to date bisexual men. Understandable. But I did want to just go over the attitudes of general society towards things like bisexuality. So I went and I read some articles at 2 a.m. as one does. And these were some really interesting research articles by some really big people who have studied a lot. So I wanted to get on and just go over a few things and let you know that this general society's idea of sexuality is warped, of course, by whiteness and colonialism. But, I'm not talking about all that. I'm just going to tap on that and talk about what I need to. But I do got 5 pages of notes. As always, I always take too many notes. This is why I don't like taking notes, because I take too many when I do. I don't know how to like pace myself. I just need to write everything down, and then I reread it and I take out what I don't need, because that's how you're supposed to take notes. But then teachers be mad. No, we're not gonna get into it. That was scaring me. Okay, so the first one. This is a quote that I got from an article, which I'm going to have all these articles linked down below and the screenshots attached and put onto the video so you can see everything I'm talking about. But how the quote is directly from a research article, and it's basically about how bias items and stereotypes are interpreted by general society and how those are enacted and inflicted upon people of certain communities in a negative, positive, or neutral way. The goal is for everybody to be neutral. You do not have to care. Like, that's the goal. You don't have to have any positive attitude. You just don't have to care. Like, it's not you, right? But here's the quote. The quote is, however, in terms of attitudes towards bisexual men and women, the majority of participants in our study remained middle of the road and were most likely to report neither agreeing nor disagreeing with the range of sentiments and stereotypes embedded with the bias items. These responses can be interpreted in a variety of ways, including the participant not knowing, the participant being unsure, or the participant not caring. Additionally, midpoint responses may also reflect social desirability bias. While it is encouraged that most participants did not report more explicitly negative attitudes, that over 1/3 of participants neither agreed nor disagreed with every scale item, may also be indicative of a general ambivalence towards bisexual men and women within the general population. This reflection of a larger cultural shift away from expressing explicitly negative or discriminatory attitudes towards minority groups, while implicit or unconscious biases may still operate. Now, this is important because it is saying that these results could also be warped just because people don't want to outwardly be discriminatory towards certain people, which is understandable. I mean, if you're black, you're like, that's not true. But in terms of certain communities, that can be true. So I can respect that as an opinion. The first main point from this research article, where they studied and observed people and their responses towards that bisexuality group. Under a plethora of social circumstances, this main point acknowledges the advances in society, but also acknowledges that there is still a considerable amount of people who have negative responses or neutral responses. My main point being is we still live in a world where people can say they are negatively impacted by bisexual people in the world. I don't know. This is too late, y'all. I ain't even reread this. But in reality, that's simply not true. So people feel these negative urges for no reason. And I mean, if you look back at it, you can probably connect it to religion or fear or this or that. But in all reality, there is no reason. Your hatred towards certain people is due from something within inside you that you can't control. It's negativity within inside you. But most people don't report it like that because, we live in a world where honestly you project everything. So yeah, that was my first point. T. And then I said, in terms of specific scale items, the most commonly endorsed belief. This is another quote, but I think it's from the same article, so I'm still going to be having it on the screen. Was that bisexual men and women are at a heightened risk for certain diseases. This finding is in line with prior assessments of attitudes towards that group of people and convenience samples in terms of sexual riskiness as well as descriptions of irresponsibility. As a commonly reported anti-bisexual experience among bisexual individuals, the sentiment is likely an artifact from the early days of the epidemic in which bisexual men in particular were stereotyped as that bridge population between their male partners and presumably unaware female partners. However, recent research has demonstrated that in the US, the number of bisexual men who are positive with that disease is likely no greater than the number of heterosexual men who are positive with that disease. So straight men and bisexual men are generally equal along that scaling, which is kind of interesting because it is always stereotyped that like, oh, they're promiscuous, they're gonna get you. But that's simply not true. It's stated right here in this article, this professional article. I'm actually finna pull up the website right now. Right now. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button, y'all. Hold on. Okay. Yet another common misrepresentation that affects how people see the community. We live in a world where people are biased not based on science or fact, but based on religion and fear. People living in fear that are more people are living in a state of fear that they are more likely to contract a disease when that is simply not true, when they are simply uneducated. And it's not that they're uneducated, they were misinformed growing up because you had that whole, slanderous campaign because there was nothing but a bunch of old straight white men in Congress. But the idea of a bridge population and sexual irresponsibility is deeply rooted in homophobia, whiteness, and religion. Like, that's on period. That's it. So if you're upholding those, I guess you can say that you're upholding whiteness and white supremacy more than the average person. And I just think it's something to be noted. But also, I just think it's something to be noted because everybody really has to really think about and address the points that matter. We really have to attempt to be good people. Is that difficult? Is that difficult? Okay, so I got one more point and then we gonna get to the end of the video. So this point is from an article. It was written by Vice, which I'm really interested about, but it was written about a book. It's called Women in Relationships with Bisexual Men. It was co-authored by Marie Pallada Sciaroli, and it was just in her findings. There was just one question and one response that really was interesting, so I included it in the video. So, one of the questions that you were asked when talking about bisexual men is, do these men struggle more with coming out than gay men? And if so, why? And she responded with, the number of gay men who marry and then come out later has dropped significantly because society has become more accepting of gay people. But the same thing needs to happen for the other sectors of the LGBTQIA community. Society often portrays male bisexuals as devious, evil, or untrustworthy, and most films that have those characters in them are either murderers or die by committing suicide or being killed, whereas bisexual women are usually seen as like the hot, sexy predators. These women and men who come from strict religious backgrounds, often those restrictions were what caused, those men to not come out. And later it manifested in very difficult situations with their partners. So this comes back to society, in general society, having a warped image of what they think about queerness, which is interesting. So, I really like it. I'm not going to read all this. This is more interesting because there is complexity with loads and more nuance than we think. This is a spectrum. A lot of people don't even understand it. Scientists don't even understand it. People in government don't understand it. And this is starting from men are emotional, multifaceted humans with mental health needs, of course. And the environment of toxicity in the masculine community is often disheartening. Men are divorcing people because they were considered in love because they weren't given a chance or time by society, family, or community to conform. To find themselves, so they had to conform. And then you get a plethora of issues that lead to mental health issues, trauma issues, and they're not being handled by therapists. They're being handled by just people who are struggling mentally. So, if we can start to open that door for other parts of that community, it would create a lot less of the situations that leave women in particular feeling like they are being duped when they date people of bisexual. Yeah. So, did that make any sense? I need to stop smoking weed. I smoked a blunt before recording this. It was a good blunt too. Oh, I was meaning like I'm high. I meant like I'm high. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna cut that out. We're back. So I am not whatever arbitrary stereotype you have created in your head about bisexual people. I am a cisgender bisexual male with the awareness to keep track of my sexual experience, my sexual health, and my sexual loyalty. All the points laid out in this video all the points laid out in this video to me are excuses for bigotry, but it is also meant to be a learning experience to help people curb that pattern and grow in a way that is productive. We live in a world of fluidity and nuance. You won't know anything about anything unless you ask or research or learn about it. I'm a loyal person who will always live in an environment of truth and honesty and in my relationships, romantic or not. In terms of the real world, this situation is common for people like me to have those types of responses when attempting to date people, and even from people of the opposite side. So that's that. The effect this has not only on the mental health of the community is tragic. That was not a good sentence. And we constantly, the community, live in states of anxiety, depression, and believing you are unworthy of certain aspects of life. Not only for yourself, but for the people around you. Most notably, the black community is really affected by this, and it leads to a lot of mental health issues that go unaddressed because black people don't like to address mental health issues, but we will talk about that another day. But it's starting to open up. That pathway and that door to black mental health is starting to open up, and you can thank people like Taraji P. Henson, and there's other people out there, I can't think of their names right now, but in the celebrity world who are opening that door, which is kind of nice. But we don't have safe spaces. And I'm determined to create a safe space for myself and people of all other identifications to find mutuality and understanding and peace. Most importantly, though, I want to acknowledge the struggle of black women, the most underappreciated and undervalued person in America. I'm not pushing this blame onto that community of strong, powerful, and beautiful people that appreciates queerness in all its forms, but merely acknowledging that throughout life there are certain circumstances set up by heteronormativity, religion, and whiteness where we, black people, feel neglected by our own community. This is not exclusive to black people or black women, rather inclusive of bigoted ideologies. It just so happens that I like a the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice, they say. You know what I mean? Like, I like myself a black woman. And my experiences are directly correlated to blackness, so our experiences include men and women of all races. Wait, what happened? I think I skipped something. See, look, this is what happened when I started talking, and I was saying that, I like myself a foreign black woman. You know what I mean? And my experiences are directly correlated to blackness. So our experiences should include. What am I saying? This. Okay. Okay, we're just gonna start back at the top because I don't know where I left off. Most importantly, though, I want to acknowledge the struggle of black women, the most underappreciated and undervalued person in America. I'm not pushing this blame onto that community of strong and powerful and beautiful people. They appreciate queerness in all its forms, but merely acknowledging that throughout life there are certain circumstances set up by heteronormivity, I can't speak, religion, and whiteness where we, the community, feel neglected by blackness, by the black community, by the black experiences. Now, this is not just exclusive to black people or black women, rather inclusive of most bigoted ideologies. So within other communities, you get this sense of the same feeling if you're a minority within the community of minorities, if that makes sense. And this is not my personal experience. This is the experience of a lot of people. This is the experience of so many people, and it's rough. But I can make an hour-long video talking about the toxicity of other white communities, other white queer communities, or white women, or even black men in general. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to get into it. We're going to end on a good note. But we do have to acknowledge that most of these bigoted ideologies are rooted in that hatred of femininity and blackness. So black women will always get the brunt of it, and I'm in no way saying that the pain that I'm enduring is worse than the pain that they are enduring. You know what I mean? This is simply me opening up about my experiences and sharing it so other people who may have had the same experience could know how it feels. And people who didn't have that same experiences could understand how it feels. So whenever you're making decisions in the future, you can move in a way that's positive for both you and everyone around you. But with that being said, if you are looking for more content related to these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment about your personal experiences. This is a safe space. So yeah. Oh yeah, and I didn't address Keisha. I'm not mad. I just wanted to make this video. Hey girl, DM me. We fine. We cool. But if you want me to release the DMs, I'll do that too. Like, don't snap at me just because you see the title and the thumbnail. Yeah, I'll eat your ass. But, in all reality, you got to be, and she said this happened to someone else too, you have to be more aware of other people's feelings. And I think I even noticed this when you made your video about Nikita Dragon. I don't think it's on your channel anymore, but about her show and biphobia, and you were just like, it's just a preference. So I think I knew then that there was something up. But yeah, it's just, things be thinking how they think. You don't ever know what's going on. Y'all have a good one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do your thing. And yeah, I'll be back soon. Oh, I'm gonna have a video. I have corona. I thought I had coronavirus. I literally thought that I had coronavirus.